Have you ever seen an umbrella that can find people on its own? It was raining that day, and Doraemon's pocket finally came in handy. Nobita was sent by his mom to pick up his dad at the station. On the way, he lent one of them to Shizuka. The other one was snatched away by John. At that moment, Nobita's dad called and asked why no one had brought him the umbrella yet. That's when Doraemon pulled out his future umbrella cabinet. The first one was a compass umbrella. The arrow on the handle pointed directly to Nobita's location. Following the direction through small alleys, they quickly found Nobita hiding from the rain. By the time they reached the station, Nobita's dad was already getting impatient. Doraemon confidently handed him the first surprise. As soon as the umbrella opened, colorful streamers burst out everywhere. It turned out to be a party celebration umbrella. Passers-by stared, and Dad was so embarrassed he wanted to disappear. They quickly switched to the second umbrella. With a spin, it started playing music, and the canopy showed a spinning carousel. A crying child nearby was instantly distracted, so Dad ended up giving the umbrella to the kid. The third umbrella looked completely normal at first, but as they walked, tiny sprouts began growing from the canopy. This was a plant-growing umbrella. Rainwater automatically nourished it, and flowers bloomed right on the umbrella. Just then, they ran into Shizuka, who hadn't been able to buy any flowers. She happily took the entire umbrella full of blossoms, but Dad just wanted a normal umbrella. Doraemon pulled out another one. The moment Dad lifted it, he collapsed to the ground. It was a gravity training umbrella, heavy like a barbell, and things only got stranger after that. A spring-loaded umbrella that bounced on its own, a balance umbrella that could be used for acrobatics, and one decorated with bat-shaped ornaments. The second Dad opened that one, it lifted him straight into the air. It was a flying umbrella. Unfortunately, Doraemon forgot to explain how it worked. Dad clung to a tree branch in panic, shouting for help. When the rain finally stopped, Dad sighed and said all these weird umbrellas were far less useful than a normal one. Nobita awkwardly handed him the last umbrella. Suddenly, it started raining inside the umbrella. Doraemon and Nobita panicked and immediately ran away. Nobita used the time machine to go back to the past. He bought a lottery ticket, and he won 300 million yen. Nobita's dad had spent a lot of money on lottery tickets. He got scolded badly by Nobita's mom. Seeing his dad getting yelled at like that, Nobita felt really sorry for him, so he asked Doraemon to help. Doraemon said they shouldn't do something like this. Nobita argued that he only wanted to make back the money his dad had lost. He begged over and over, and Doraemon finally agreed. They used the time machine to go back one day earlier. They arrived at the lottery shop. They planned to buy the ticket that had won 50,000 yen, which they had written down beforehand. But that ticket number had already been sold out. Doraemon pulled out another set of numbers. They discovered that this set would win 300 million yen. The two kids jumped with excitement. They started imagining how much fun they could have with that money. They were just about to buy the ticket, but then they realized they didn't bring any money. They rushed back home to get some. By the time they returned, the ticket had already been bought by someone else. Nobita burst into tears on the spot. Then he suddenly remembered they could time travel again. He decided to arrive a little earlier than last time, so he could grab that 300 million yen ticket. They went to an even earlier moment in time. They saw Sunio on his way to buy lottery tickets as well. Nobita sprinted toward the lottery shop. Sunio's mom said that if they won again, they wouldn't even have space at home to put the money. So Sunio didn't buy any tickets at all. Nobita finally stood in front of the winning ticket. He was ready to buy it, but Doraemon stopped him again. He said this wasn't earning back anymore. It was taking away money that should belong to someone else. Nobita had no choice but to give up. They stepped back a little, wanting to see who would end up buying that ticket. They saw that the person who bought it was actually Nobita's dad. They immediately got excited again, because that meant they weren't stealing anyone else's fortune. They returned home. Their excitement only grew stronger. They felt like they were about to become a wealthy family. They started imagining everything they could buy. They all ran to find Dad, but Dad scratched his head. He told them he had donated the ticket. He said he saw someone fundraising on the street, and he casually handed over the winning ticket. Doraemon gave Nobita an AI robot. It could help him with all sorts of tasks, and it could even predict what was going to happen next. But at first, it was like a blank sheet of paper. It had to be taught everything from scratch, so Nobita started teaching it to recognize different objects, and telling it what each thing was used for. He even took it to meet his friends, and explained what their personalities were like. Nobita said Shizuka was cute and gentle, and that if you visited her house, she might even give you some cookies. The moment they walked into her room, the robot laid out a cushion for Nobita, then ran to the kitchen and came back with a plate, waiting for Shizuka's cookies. Shizuka stared at Nobita, confused, and asked what on earth he had been teaching that robot. The AI became more and more obedient. It even fed cake to Nobita, took his school bag when he got home, and brought him a pillow when he got sleepy. One day the robot sensed that John was coming to find Nobita. It analyzed the situation and concluded that John wanted Nobita to help him fetch a baseball. So it told Nobita to escape through the back door, and handed him a pair of rain boots. Nobita didn't understand why, until a car drove past. While dodging, he accidentally stepped one foot into a puddle. Back at home, the AI gently brought him a pillow, wiped his nose, fed him snacks, and even scratched his itch. Nobita became more and more dependent on it. Doraemon warned him to use it properly. If he relied on it too much, he'd become useless. But Nobita completely ignored the warning. When Nobita was about to leave the house, the robot insisted he bring a cooking pot. Before Nobita could ask why, a baseball flew straight at his head. He instinctively put the pot on like a helmet and avoided the hit. This made Nobita believe the robot was even more amazing. He became so lazy that he didn't even want to lift his hand to eat snacks. And he even said the robot was better than Doraemon. Hearing that made Doraemon heartbroken. Later, when they got home, the robot was leaning over the toilet, doing all kinds of strange poses. Turns out Nobita even wanted it to go to the bathroom for him. That was when he realized this was one thing the robot couldn't do.
Doraemon dropped a single drop of potion onto a steamed bun. This potion had a magical effect. Every 5 minutes, the bun would multiply. Doraemon was about to eat one, but Nobita told him to wait a bit longer, because it would soon become 4. When it did become 4, Nobita still said, "Let's wait a little more." Doraemon got angry and walked away. Nobita happily started eating. As long as he saved one each time, they would keep multiplying endlessly. Eventually, Nobita could no longer eat anymore, so he brought the steamed bun to his mom. She finished 3 and was already full. He begged her to eat the last one, but she got annoyed and kicked him out. The buns kept multiplying, so Nobita called his friends to help finish them. Finally, John ate the last one, but Sunio secretly hid one away. Since no one could eat anymore, they all left Nobita's house. Nobita collapsed on the floor. The remaining bun started multiplying again. Not knowing what else to do, he threw the buns into the trash bin. Doraemon came back and asked if they had eaten them all. Nobita lied and said yes. Doraemon warned him, "If you didn't finish them, we're doomed. In 1 hour, there will be 4,096 of them. In 2 hours, 16,777,216. In just 1 day, the entire Earth will be buried." Nobita turned pale instantly, and finally confessed. They rushed up to the 2nd floor, but the door wouldn't open. The buns were already blocking it. The next second, the door burst open. The steamed buns swept them out of the house like a flood. Even Nobita's mom, who was cooking, was swept outside. Nobita's entire house was completely submerged. In the end, Doraemon used a rocket to send all the buns into space. But they didn't realize, one bun had fallen beneath the house.
Nobita put on a pair of magical cat paw gloves. He lightly touched an orange on the ground, and the peel bloomed open like a flower. Then he grabbed a pineapple, one squeeze and the skin fell right off. Even tiny grapes popped perfectly out of their skins with just a tap of his fingertips. He opened his mouth as the grapes dropped in one by one, but Doraemon beside him looked gloomy. Because with his round hands, he could never experience this kind of joy. Just then, a sigh came from downstairs. It turned out Nobita's mom was struggling to peel chestnuts. Her hands were sore, yet she hadn't peeled many at all. For once, Nobita volunteered to help. He picked up a chestnut, and the shell instantly burst open. In no time, an entire bucket was peeled clean. His mom was shocked and delighted, praising him and saying she'd make chestnut rice for him. Nobita was feeling proud, when suddenly Shizuka called. Shizuka said she had something important to tell him, but as they talked, the line suddenly went dead. It turned out Nobita had forgotten to take off the gloves, and accidentally crushed the receiver. Eager to know what Shizuka wanted to say, he rushed out to find her, only to run into John at the park. John walked over with a grin. Nobita thought something good was coming, but John suddenly grabbed him and wanted to wrestle. Terrified, Nobita tried to run, but John caught him in a hold. Just as John was about to throw him over his shoulder, Nobita instinctively reached out and grabbed with the cat paw. Both of them flew into the air. With a loud rip, John's clothes were torn completely apart. He was left looking like a naked gorilla. Nobita seized the chance to escape. While John screamed in rage behind him, Sunio saw everything. He immediately went to find Nobita. It turned out his family had bought an imported French melon, and specifically invited Nobita over to help peel it. With one touch, the rind came off in a perfect ring. The two of them scooped it out with spoons. It tasted incredible. But of course, Sunio had another motive. He had accidentally dropped his mom's diamond ring into a musical instrument, and wanted Nobita to get it out. Nobita thought it was no big deal and was about to help, when Sunio's mom suddenly came home. In the panic, Nobita reached out to hide, and the cat paw accidentally touched her face. Everyone froze in shock. What do you think will happen next? Doraemon suddenly announced. Starting today, he would reassign every kid's mom. He shuffled all the mom's photos, and the result was a complete family chaos triangle. Nobita got Shizuka's mom, Shizuka got Sunio's mom, and Sunio became a new child of Nobita's mom. Just as everyone was trying to get used to this strange arrangement, John's mom burst out like a volcano, grabbing John straight out of a concrete pipe. Doraemon wanted to add her to the mom swap operation, and everyone shook their heads frantically. No one dared to take on the task. The three kids had no choice but to put the photos into the magic box, and the mom swap officially went into effect. When Nobita arrived at Shizuka's house, he was so nervous he felt like jumping out of his skin. Doraemon shoved him inside. Treat this as your home. Relax. Meanwhile, Sunio was now living at Nobita's house. Thinking about the legends of Nobita's mom, he tensed up completely. But then Nobita's mom softly said, "Snacks are in the kitchen cabinet. Take whatever you want." There was even a plate of donuts on the table. Sunio thought, wait, has Nobita been misunderstanding her all this time? Back at Shizuka's house, the door suddenly opened, and Nobita nearly jumped through the ceiling. It was Shizuka's mom, but she wasn't angry. She gently apologized to him. Nobita froze. So Shizuka's mom is actually so kind? Could Shizuka have misunderstood her too? At the same time, Shizuka was studying in Sunio's room. Sunio's mom pulled out some pocket money for her, and even apologized for scolding her before. Shizuka immediately realized, Sunio's mom is actually pretty nice too? Trying to be helpful, Nobita picked up the vacuum to clean, but he slipped and dumped a whole bucket of water on himself. He froze, expecting a storm of scolding, but Shizuka's mom rushed over, worried he was hurt, apologizing while drying him off and helping him change. Then came an awkward moment. The wardrobe was full of girls' clothes. Nobita's face turned bright red. Before things got even more ridiculous, Doraemon quickly grabbed him and dragged him away. After reflecting, the three finally realized their own moms were the ones who truly loved and cared for them the most. So they decided to swap back immediately. When Nobita got back home and opened the door, he was so shocked he almost fainted. There stood Shizuka's mom in the living room, holding Nobita's underwear somehow in her hands. He froze on the spot. John and Sunio were rushing to school when they saw that Nobita had just woken up. Thinking there was still plenty of time, they decided to walk to school at a leisurely pace. Up on the rooftop, Nobita calmly pulled out an arrow and shot it straight into the sky. Because the school's target was yellow, the arrow shot off with a whoosh, dragging Nobita himself through the air all the way to school. By the time John and Sunio came panting to the school gate, they realized they were late, while Nobita was already sitting comfortably in the classroom. As a result, the two of them were scolded by the teacher. After school, Nobita planned to go see Shizuka. John and Sunio tried to sneak up and scare him from behind, but Nobita grabbed Shizuka's hand, pulled out another arrow, and fired it. In an instant, the two of them were lifted into the air and landed smoothly in Shizuka's backyard. John and Sunio searched everywhere, but couldn't find them anywhere, so they went to Doraemon and traded snacks for a bow and arrow set of their own. First, they tried the green arrow, but the green target had already been grabbed by a puppy and tossed into the river. The moment they took off, splash, they fell straight into the water, completely soaked. Next, they switched to the black arrow. Unbelievably, the black target was being used by Sunio's mom as a trivet while cooking. The two of them suddenly flew in, knocking over the table and ruining dinner. The most dangerous one was the purple arrow. Pulled by the arrow, they flew farther and farther through the sky, even passing Mount Fuji. They had no idea where it was taking them. It turned out the purple target had been taken onto a train by Nobita's dad. Terrified, John threw away the bow and tried to wrap the arrow with his clothes, but everything spun completely out of control. At the critical moment, Doraemon appeared and saved them just in time. As long as you swallow this pill, the space around you will expand infinitely. A tiny bathtub can become bigger than a swimming pool. This is called the space expansion pill. Doraemon gives Nobita one. His tiny bedroom instantly becomes unbelievably spacious. He has to run more than 10 steps just to reach Doraemon, but to everyone else, it looks like he's only taken a few steps in place. They plan to visit Shizuka. On the way, they run into John and Sunio playing soccer on an empty lot. The space is too small to play properly. Doraemon tosses them 2 pills. In their eyes, the empty lot instantly turns into a massive stadium, but to outsiders, they look like glitching game characters running in place. Nobita quickly gives them the antidote and pulls them back to reality. After finally finding Shizuka, Nobita brags that he has a giant swimming pool at home. Shizuka believes him and follows him back, but when she opens the bathroom door, she sees nothing but an ordinary bathtub. Furious, she beats Nobita up. Doraemon quickly explains how the pill works, and only then does Shizuka calm down. Everyone changes into swimsuits and swallows the pill together. The bathtub instantly expands into a vast space. They swim freely, and when it still feels too small, they take another pill. The bathtub expands again, this time to the size of a lake. Suddenly, they hear John and Sunio shouting from outside. Nobita opens the bathroom door and discovers even the hallway has expanded. To Nobita's mom, the kids are moving incredibly slowly. John waits for half an hour before Nobita finally reaches the doorway. All 5 of them gather in the bathtub, and each swallows 2 more pills. The tiny tub seems to stretch endlessly. John and Sunio race each other. Shizuka and Nobita toss a ball in the water. Nobita's mom is completely stunned by what she sees. Suddenly, Nobita swallows all the remaining pills. The bathtub expands like an ocean. The edges completely disappear. Mom calls them out to eat watermelon. The other kids easily climb out, but no matter how hard Nobita swims, he can't reach the exit. Mom doesn't understand why he isn't coming out. Thankfully, the others notice he's missing in time. Otherwise, Nobita might have become the first kid in history to get lost in a bathtub. So if it were you, what space would you most want to enlarge with this pill? Tell us your answer in the comments. Doraemon pressed a button, and a miniature refrigerated truck shot out of the drawer. All you had to do was put some money in the trunk, and it would drive itself to the store to buy ice cream. The little truck skillfully jumped down the stairs, safely reached the street, and completed its task like a seasoned driver before returning. When Nobita opened the trunk, a blast of cold air hit him. Inside was the perfectly intact ice cream, even with change and a receipt. Then they went to the park again. A mini crane easily plucked a balloon stuck in a tree. On the way home, they ran into John, who accidentally broke a flower pot. So they called a mini cement truck to help fix it. But then John's mom appeared, questioning what trouble he had caused this time. The kids were so scared they ran off in a flash. Back at home, they found Dad lying flat on the floor. He wanted to take the whole